Welcome to Arnie's Class Podcast. I'm Arnie Aniel. I'm an HR development consultant, an international public speaker, a workshop facilitator, a coach, and an educator. Life is a great opportunity, and we all learn life lessons every day. This podcast is all about those lessons. Lessons like gratitude, confidence, happiness, mindset, and a lot more. Learning without action is information. Learning with action is transformation. Join me, learn, and transform yourself into a better you. Life Mates, a new episode, and an episode about self-mastery. Self-mastery is our commitment to never-ending improvement of ourselves. It's about our awareness and actualizing our potentials. Some people, they always define self-mastery as having the control of ourselves and overcoming our fears. I think it's more than that. It's more on knowing ourselves and knowing those fears that we have and transcending them and developing our innate capacities in order to be our master of ourselves. A lot of people blame others, the environment, why they cannot reach the success that they want in life. They blame other people, they blame the situations that happen or the circumstances that they are in, but they never blame themselves, because I believe the biggest enemy in mastering ourselves is actually ourselves. You are the one who's actually in control. It's in your hand whether you're going to master yourself or not. So instead of focusing on the environment and the people around you to be responsible of your self-mastery, why don't you take in control? You control the environment. You manage the people around you. You deal with them. And I believe that you can be a master of yourself. And with my special guest, with her knowledge and experiences, I'm sure she's going to share valuable lessons, tips, and things that we can do in order to master ourselves. And as Maslow said to the students, doctoral students, if you deliberately plan to be less than you are capable of being, then you will be deeply unhappy for the rest of your life. Life mates, listen to this new episode and be the master of yourself. Life mates, welcome to another episode of Arnie's Class. And in this episode, I have a very special guest from the Philippines. She is a professional certified coach of ICF, the first Marshall Goldsmith Certified Coach in the Philippines, a Gallup-Certified Strengths Coach pioneers in the Philippines, an ACE Accelerator, and a member of Virtuoso, which is by invitation of Coaches for Mastery. She is a recipient of numerous awards from LinkedIn, which includes Top Filipino Women, Top 100 Filipinos, and Top 10 Filipino Content Creators. And aside from that, she is a recipient of Top 3 Best Coach or Best APAC Coach. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Anda Goseco. Hi,
Hello,
Anda.
Arnie. Hi,
Yes.
Arnie. It's good to hear from you again.
Yes, and welcome, and thank you so much for saying yes to my invitation. Let's
I'm glad
start.
I'm
Yes, Anda, let's start. We're going to talk about self-mastery. Anda, for the benefits of all the listeners, how do you define self-mastery?
Yeah. If especially in the world we live in today, we have many challenges that are happening around us, and the world is getting more and more complex. And a lot of times we blame the environment and we say that it's environment controlling us. But it's actually the other way around. It's about you and how you respond to the environment. So if you're not aware of your triggers, if you're not aware of who you are as a person, you let the environment control you. But there is more power in doing it the other way. When you know yourself really well, when there is self-mastery, you know what triggers you, then you're able to manage your responses to the environment around you.
Nice, very clear. So how are we going to do that to be more aware of ourselves so we can control the environment?
So there are certain things you need to look at. Well, first, and with challenges, people respond differently to many challenges around us. So you have to be able to see like what causes you to react negatively to situations, and to be able to do that, maybe you observe yourself like in a matter of like months or a month or two, and try to see like what are the common themes that come up. So let's say there's something that stresses you out, or there's a like let's say your boss is asking you a lot of things and you get overwhelmed easily. So you have to be able to find out what are the times when I feel overwhelmed and what causes me to be overwhelmed. And usually, like if you go deeper to overwhelm, sometimes it is the reason could be like, no, I just want things to be perfect, I want to be in control, which are actually very good things. So but also good things also have the bad side of it. So too much into control is not realistic, because when you want things to happen in a certain way and you want to take control of the situation, and there are a lot of things that are uncontrollables, then it can get you frustrated, it can get you emotional, and then it can lead you to making wrong decisions. So you need to be able to find out what triggers you to act, let's say, overwhelmed or angry at someone, or more emotional in a conversation. And then as you see those patterns, you write them down. And so the first part is really awareness of it. And the awareness of it starts with what you feel in your body. So let's say your heart is beating fast, your head's painful, or your shoulders are starting to ache, it's in different manifestations, and there's something wrong. Then from that, there's an emotion that comes with it. So you have to be able to see and name what emotion comes with it. Am I frustrated? Am I angry? Am I sad? What is it? And then go deeper and ask yourself why. So if I'm feeling this way, what's causing that? Oh, maybe because I feel like I'm under. Oh, another example is like, let's say I feel like I'm under attack by this person, by my friend. I feel like my friend is questioning me. My friend doesn't trust me. So where is all this trust coming from? And maybe it's coming from the past. It could be coming from how you grew up, or it's how you've maybe met some certain people where like you felt that you could trust them, but you couldn't. So therefore, in your present relationships, you're bringing that with you. But in psychology, actually, we have something called thinking traps. So the thinking traps don't help us, because they create like a distorted view of reality. So
See.
instead of seeing reality as this is the way I should be responding to it, we panic. So let's say we have like tunnel vision. We only see certain things, or we only focus on, let's say the example of trust. Like someone broke my trust before, and that's just, let's say, one or
Mm.
two people. Therefore, I bring that with me in the present time, and I don't trust everyone
I see.
else. So there's that. So you have to be able to be careful to just stop and pause and ask yourself, what is the best reaction in this situation? So really controlling your feelings and emotions, and asking yourself, where is this coming from? What's the story behind it? And this is really helping me right now. And then when you discover that it doesn't help you, what you need to do is to tell yourself, okay, what's the new story I need to tell myself? So maybe with that story of trust, you can say that, not everyone is not to be trusted, and I should learn to I should learn to open myself up to others, and find more people that shows me that I can trust more people. So there, it's just like creating a new story, a new line in your head, because all of us, Arnie, operate with lines and stories in our head. And if we're
Yes.
not careful of those thought balloons, it's going to control our actions. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to filter it at the feeling level, where you're not acting right away. And that's why I'm saying you have to be able to write it down. You have to know when it's coming. So when it's coming at you, then okay, I automatically know what story to tell myself, what new story, what new line, what new question to ask myself, so that my response will be very different. And if you're able to do this very well and practice it, it takes practice. I'm saying it's not that easy, because it's
It
maybe
will
it's
not
behavior.
happen overnight.
It won't, right? So there are behaviors that you're picking up over the years, na, you've been repeating over and over, it's just hard to even let that go. So you have to be very intentional about it every single day. So I call them micro habits. So every single day you're intentional, you're aware of what's coming at you, and every interaction you have or any situation, you're like in a, it's like a movie. It's like you're watching yourself, you're slowing things down, you're just asking yourself, okay, what's going on here? What should I do? How should I respond? And then you'll see that the more you train yourself to do that every single day, maybe in the next 3 months, usually habits change in 3 to 4 months time. If you do that religiously every single day, then the way you respond will change. And it's not going to be as hard as it was as you're trying it in the beginning when you're being more intentional about it, because it becomes a part of you already. And that's really how to break that habit. And once you're able to do that, then you're in better control of the environment around you. There's less stress, actually, and you're able to also think better and focus on things that are more important for you. And you don't focus on things that are time wasters.
I see. Wow. Very well said. What I actually understand and get from that, Anda, is it's more of emotional intelligence. So the beginning of awareness about yourself is about emotional intelligence. You mentioned about micro habits. Can you give us an example? Because with your experience as a coach, can you give us an example of habits that can help people become more aware of themselves, especially about their emotions?
Okay. So if I were gonna break it down in steps, so maybe just to make it clear, so the first step would be looking at the environment. So looking at the trigger. When you notice the trigger, then you ask yourself, what am I feeling? That's step 2. So the environment, the trigger, the feeling. And then step 3 would be, how am I what's my story behind this, and why do I feel this way? And asking yourself, is this story helping me? So that's step 3. So step 4 would be, what's another way I can do things differently? Or what
I
is
see.
how can I change this habit? What's a new story I can tell myself, or a new line, or that's going to help me? So every time you're faced with that, it's like going into battle. You're armed with the right weapons. Then you know what to use when that happens. And that's the creation of habits, and it has to be very compelling to you. So another thing in doing habits is easier said than done. So you have to be able to think about, why am I going to do this anyway? Because there are going to be days that I don't want to do it anymore, or I
Okay.
just want to go to what I was doing before. That's so much easier. But actually you're fooling yourself, because that's not much easier. It's going to ruin your life. So it's going to, if you think about it in 5 years time and you can keep on doing that, that's not going to help you at all. So what you need to do is to really be very aware, very intentional, and to really see the bigger picture, zoom out. So in the next 5 years, if I keep on doing this habit, is it making me to the person I want to be? Or is it changing me? Or, at 5 years, I don't want to be that person anymore. So if you don't want to be that, then it's a compelling goal for you. Then you'll want to do it. And so that compelling goal combined with the action that you're doing makes you want to do it every single day.
I see.
But another thing in creating the habit is, when you wake up in the morning, you have to be intentional. I want to do this. I want to be this. I'm going to do things this way with this particular trigger or habit. And at
I
the end of
see.
the day, there should be a review. Did I do my best to do it this way? So when you do that review at the end of the day, it's just like a 5-minute check-in in the morning with yourself, check-in in the afternoon or at night. And then you're able to do better and better and better the next day. So that's the whole point of it. The reflection that you're doing, and then the action that you do together with that, is very powerful in making change happen and
Nice.
creating those habits. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for summarizing that, Anna. Anna, do you believe, because I've heard many, many times, a lot of people said that to change a habit or to start a habit, it takes about 21 days. What is your take on that?
Depends on people, depends on the person. So it starts with your commitment, your 100% commitment to it, in wanting to change that habit. It also depends also on how deep that habit is and has become. So if it's very deep, it's, there's a lot of things to uncover, a lot of things to unlearn, and unlearning is very difficult, right?
That's right.
So I think in this whole time that you're doing this to yourself, if you want to change a habit, It's all about, having self-compassion for yourself. So in the times that you don't get to do it, it's fine. As long as you're aware that, oh, I didn't get to do it. And then that's already change in itself, because before maybe you weren't aware. And so just being kind to yourself in this whole process, because learning a new skill is very easy. You just memorize it, you practice it, you know it. But changing a behavior takes time. So I think it's understanding that it's like that for people. And even if maybe some things show that, in 90 days and 21 days, you can already change. It's different for different people. So don't give yourself that pressure. And I think it's just really important to just be intentional and try your best every day to make that happen. Yeah.
See. So
So with coaching,
yes,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead, Anda.
Now, I was going to say that with coaching, so I've been coaching for 12 years now. And the pattern that I see is that if you're very committed and you're compelled and you really try, in about maybe 3 months, 4 months, it becomes a part of you. But I can't say that even if I've completed all the coaching sessions with my clients that, they're 100% like changed people. But you can see the big, big difference from session one to, let's say, the last session. I usually have like an 8 session program. So when you end at 8 sessions, then you get to find out like, oh, okay, I've changed so much and my life is so much different and I'm actually a better person. I'm living my life differently already. But change is a process that happens over time. That's what I'm saying. But also appreciating where you've started, where you've gone, when you've been, and where you are now is important.
Yes. I can hear their intention, commitment, and appreciation. And you mentioned about coaching session of 8. So it means it's possible for people to have that change from the first session to the 8th or to the last session.
Yeah, for sure. People hire me as an executive coach. People hire me for change, right? To transform leaders, to transform teams also. And to be able to do that, it's not a one-time thing. It's about, like I said, it's the reflection, the trying it out, iterating, trying different ways, and then practicing the practice. So that takes time. And that's why it has to be like in a period of usually my minimum is 4 months, but it can go as long as 9 months also as well. So it depends on where you are also as an individual. But I assure you, from session one to the last session, whether it's 4 months, 8 months, 9 months, there already is that big change. Yeah.
I see. With your experience and as a coach, and as you mentioned, you also do executive coaching. What is the common, or what are the common barriers why people do not reach that level of self-mastery?
A lot of people also, because with the self-mastery, you have to be able to be vulnerable. You have to be able to face yourself in the mirror. You have to face some hard truths. You have to be really, really brutally honest with yourself that these are the areas that are not helping you. And these are the habits or behaviors that you've been doing that are contributing to that. Because a lot of times we want to blame the environment, like I said, other people, other things, but a lot of it is also you. And that's the biggest barrier, yourself. And so you have to be able to just take all of that. And like I said, the best way to think about it is, what value will it give me 5 years from now or 10 years from now? How will this change my life? And how will this, not just even at work, but overall, like even outside work as well, how will this make me a better person? And if you're able to just really see the bigger picture, see the helicopter view of things, then you'll really want to do it. So change takes time, but it's all worth it, really. Yeah.
I see.
I want to share also that in the practice of mastery, I always talk about staying with uncomfortable or pushing you at the edge of your comfort zone. So what I do is I push the leaders to the edge of the comfort zone, but I don't push them where they're just going to fall, but I make sure that they're really at the edge or almost going to fall. But then that's the point where you grow. And that's the point where a lot of people are afraid to see and to know and to be in, because all, the feelings that go with it and everything else and self-doubt or whatever, or fears all come in at that point. But if you learn to just ride with it and just say, like, this is part of the process, it's uncomfortable, I'm going to squirm and all that, it's not a good feeling, but if I just sit with it and sit with myself and help and just really see the hard truths, then you'll know also what are the areas that you need to grow in. And at every point of our lives, our lives change, we grow up, we become older, and we have different phases. So there are different phases in our lives. We can't say that, okay, we've reached the pinnacle and we're perfect and there's no need to change for the next 10 years or 20 years. But it's not like that. We go through phases.
That's
Like we
right.
went through the pandemic, and then
Yes.
we're realize stuff about ourselves, and then things come up, like something like a can of worms or something. So it's just what do you do with that, right? So what do you do with those learnings? What do you do with those feelings of feeling uncomfortable or vulnerable? So if you just set that aside, then you're not going to change. You're not going to grow. Things are going to stay at status quo. But if you are more actually open to learning in that point of being uncomfortable, then there's so much knowledge you can get from there's so much wisdom, so much knowledge, and then you can actually take it to another level. And that's where you move from being good to great. And that's why in my tagline, actually, I help leaders and teams move from good to great, because the point in between from good to great is not that easy.
Of course.
But if yeah, you're patient with it and you see the value of it, then when you reach that becoming great or becoming better, a better person, it's just so worth it also. Yeah.
See, you mentioned that about pushing them a little bit to the edge. Can you
Yeah, a
give us
little
a
bit.
specific example of an experience and that you work with the leader and then you push this leader up to that edge wherein not falling but learning more? Can you give us an example?
Yeah. Well, I work with people would call him a difficult leader, but actually I like difficulty and complex situations. So he was not liked by his team, but he was the COO of a big company. And a lot of people trusted him, but they didn't like him. So there were also a lot of resignations as well. But he was also very good at what he did. He brought in the revenues. He was very good with operations and very strategic as well. But there was a part of him also that wanted to help his people, wanted them to grow. But there was that part also was very driven on, no, I have to get the numbers and I have to stick to that. Um, what he would do a lot in meetings was that he would just insult people, dress them down, and
Oh, wow.
and yeah, it was really bad and
In
curse
front
and
of other
everything.
people.
Yeah, and very insulting and use curse words and everything else. So that was so bad. And I had to just take him there. And he didn't want to change in the beginning. And he could, it's something that, oh, it's effective, it's working, I'm successful. So why should I stop it?
That's
And
right.
then I said, and I had to help him realize that, but what is your goal anyway? What is the purpose of you being a leader? Or what's your, and I found out in this process of coaching that every person really, a lot of people are actually good inside. They're just seen as maybe bad outside because of maybe they're pressured to do something or they're driven by something. But when you go back to their core, like him, it's funny and people would never believe it. But then his goal when he retired was to grow leaders or to build
More
individuals. So
leaders.
someone who was cursing people, like you can't really imagine that. So I brought that side out, but to bring that out, I had to help him face sort of like his demons,
Oh,
or the
wow.
things
Okay.
the things that were making him do that. And so he just had to face himself in the mirror and just say that, okay, what I've been doing is not really helping me. And it's been actually, he also had to face what the effect it was doing to people. Because, he was saying, oh, it's good for them. I'm doing that. And, I'm making them more disciplined or I'm making them learn. So, these stories in his head. So he had to just really see the truth that I've hurt people. They're not happy. They want to leave. And if I continue doing this, it's not really going to make me the leader that I want to be, an effective leader. And when he made those changes, actually, what happened was so many things changed around him. So he even became a better father, better husband. So whoever he was at work, he was like that also at home.
Wow.
Scary. So yeah, so he realized a lot of things about himself. But like I said, it was very uncomfortable to just admit that, because for someone who's been very successful, really good, brilliant, and all that, and to just admit that there's something wrong, and to just sit with it and to talk about it with me for a while, was difficult. So I think it's the talking, the reflecting. That's the edge of the comfort zone. Things that are, you don't wanna, I feel uncomfortable. I don't want to know that, but you have to know it because it's the truth
Yes.
there. So yeah, so that's the edge of the comfort zone.
Oh,
But I'm
wow.
careful also because um so like it's not that thing doesn't happen in one session. I bring it up again, and then I push a little more and a little more and a little more. So it's a gradual thing, because if you push at the start, they're just gonna, I don't wanna even talk to you
Yeah, the
about it.
resistance
Or
will be
ego,
there.
or ego will get in the way, and ego will say, I don't even want to deal with that. So I'm good. Why should I even listen to you?
That's right.
So it was a process of gaining trust, and helping him see the value of what he was about to do. Yeah.
And I think it's very difficult because, as you said, he's very successful. I think
Yeah.
it's very difficult for people to learn something if they are successful. Normally, we learn if we are failing, but not if we
Yeah.
are, yeah, we are
Yeah. Successful.
successful.
He's very successful. Yeah. People wanted him. He was so in demand. And the thing is, the process I use is feedback. So every month there was feedback from the people he worked with. So the feedback wasn't easy in the beginning. It was hard to take because they would still say, "Oh, you still like this?" And like, I thought, but I've already, we had conversations where, but I've tried already. Yeah, but it's not enough. It's still not enough. So that's hard. So sometimes he just wanted to give up, but I had to just help him stay with it and bring it back to, what is your bigger purpose? What's the bigger story here? What do you want to create for yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? So there's a consequence, and to seeing the consequence of every action that he'll take. So if he chooses not to continue with it, then what happens to him?
That's right. I see.
Yeah.
Wow. And
Mhm.
it's as a success story, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a success. Many stories like that. And I don't know, people give me what they call the difficult leaders in the organizations, but very successful. And I'm able to turn them around also because of that. Yeah.
That's very
Because I
nice.
think it comes with a lot of respect for them. I mean, even if people are saying all these things about them, I try to see what's good about them. I try to bring out, that side of them that wants to make that change, that wants to live that goal of helping others, of being that better leader. So very interesting. I'm challenged to do that, and I find it very exciting, the process.
Yeah. Nice. So again, we go back to self mastery. And if if someone or maybe the question is, have you met someone who has very unrealistic goals for himself?
Yes, a lot.
And how
Because
do you guide this kind of people? Like, they set unrealistic goals that you think that, wait, it's too much for you. Let's slow down. So how do you handle this kind of people?
yeah, well, I challenge the goals and I say, um, can that really happen? Because when you set unrealistic goals and it's very big, it's too big. And the problem with that is sometimes the details of that, making that happen or making it, following through with that, is a no, it just falls through the cracks. So it's about really breaking it down. So seeing that, and then thinking about maybe other smaller steps to get there, breaking it down into smaller goals, maybe that are more reasonable, bite size, that's going to make that happen, is more realistic. But to define realistic is to have a conversation with them, to help, and asking them questions on, is this possible, is it feasible, is it, what kind of problems are you going to encounter, what are going to be the blocks, can you actually do this, and just I think it's the asking yourself the hard questions, again going back to that, facing yourself with, so because sometimes you can be very optimistic and that's very positive and that's great, but what are the hard questions again, and sitting with uncomfortable that you need to know, that you need to face yourself with, and you need to understand, that will help you understand what is the situation, and am I prepared for it, and where am I now also.
See, nice. And I'm sure you have experienced this with some
I
leaders.
have. Yeah, I have experienced it. and with myself also. I mean, some of these things, or a lot of these things that I talk about, like it's sometimes like a basic human response or a trait or characteristic that, you also experience yourself. So, it's interesting, Arnie, when I coach leaders, I also learn a lot about myself in the process. I mean, I know instinctively how to help them, but sometimes they're a mirror also to myself.
That's
So
right.
as they're
Yes.
processing and I'm listening to them, and I realize that, oh yeah, I'm also going through maybe the journey together. I don't say it, of course, because my role is just coaching, but they also help me actually become a better coach, a better person, because of that reflection that goes on in the coaching sessions.
Yes.
And I can't stress reflection, and how important it is, because it's so important now, and people just don't do it, don't get to reflect. So for me, you need to do a check-in with yourself, maybe every quarter or weekly or yearly also. And when you ask yourself questions like, how am I, how am I doing things how can I do things differently, what's worked for me, what hasn't worked for me. So it helps you just become better. But if you just you're on the go all the time, just doing and doing and doing without really thinking and reflecting, you don't know if what you've done is really relevant enough, because you're just responding to anything that's thrown at you. So it's important, as we get older, time is more precious. So the part about reflecting, talking about it, thinking about it, will help you make better choices and better use of your time.
Very well said. I think all of us, we need to really stop, reflect, so we know where we're at the moment, and are we really going to the destination that we want to go. That's really, really nice. With the
That's self
pandemic,
mastery.
yes, of course, I think that's self mastery. And with the pandemic, of course, a lot of things change, and a lot of people are affected. And I'm sure self mastery needs, just like what we already mentioned earlier, is the awareness and all these challenges that is happening around us, especially in the environment. And we normally, just like what you said, we blame others, we blame the environment, except ourselves.
Yeah, true.
What advice can you give to the people now during this very challenging time, in order for them not to stop? Keep going. Don't let this pandemic stop you or make this a barrier, in order for you to reach your full potential. So, with your experience and knowledge, what will you tell these people?
Well, for me, first is we are in challenging times, maybe more challenging than others. And, at the start of the year, Omicron was loose in many countries, right? The hundreds and thousands, and, just so many families and groups affected. And so that's a lot to take. So I think during this difficult time, it starts with self compassion. And self compassion, I took a course on that. And it's about being kind to yourself. So asking yourself the question, how would, in this situation, if I were being a friend to myself, or a friend would be giving me advice, what would a friend say? And you'd realize that you're kinder to yourself if a friend was going to give you advice. But if you were going to tell yourself what to do, you're just keep on going, keep on going. And so for me, it's all about balance during this pandemic. It's about balancing it with, where am I now? What am I feeling? What is important for me, and what are my needs? So if you start with that, then you're able to see at the times that maybe you need to take a break, you need to pause, you need to do some self-care, more self-compassion. Because if you start with that, then you operate better. There's more to give, there's more energy, there's more focus after that. So that's why it has to start with that balance. The second part of that, actually, if you've done the self-compassion, the self-care, the time, and the balance, then the more, then you can just plan also. I think it's important to have a plan. I know that a lot of people's plans went out the window, even my travel plan went out the
Yeah.
window, right? So I think in this environment where it's ever changing, ever complex, it's a lot about going with it, learning and unlearning. Just keep on learning and unlearning. I think people are, when you're resistant to change, I think Carl Jung, the psychologist, said that what you resist persists. I
That's
think that
right.
was him who said it. So the more you resist and fight it, I wish it was like this, I wish it was like that, that's not going to help. So what you need to do is to be really agile. So whatever it's thrown at you, a difficult situation, a challenging one, like, oh, okay. So what am I learning about myself? What is the connection to all of this, or what I need to unlearn? So you're evolving. You're actually evolving faster also. And sometimes people are not used to that pace, right? Of change all the time. So for me, it's just going with it and asking yourself, what do I need to learn? What do I need to unlearn? And what do I need to relearn in this whole challenging and complex situation? So it's a mindset, really, especially for this year and the years to come, to just it's a good question, and it's a good mindset for the year to just set yourself up for the year and just tell yourself, I need to just prepare for what's to come this year, and to prepare for that, it's just throw the hard part about it. Like I said, this whole topic that we've been talking about is about facing the hard truths.
Yes.
And you may be thinking about the worst case scenario. It can be complex, it could be very difficult, but how do I respond to that? What kind of a person do I need to be? Knowing my strengths, knowing my triggers, knowing my weaknesses, knowing the areas for growth. How do I manage all of that in a complex environment? So if you're able to do that, then you're better equipped. I'm not saying it's gonna be very easy still.
Easy.
I mean, it's still gonna be difficult, but at least you're mentally prepared when it comes, and it's easier for you to let go, because a lot of times, like I said, the more you resist, the more you fight it. You're trying to do action, but it's not working. I was just having a conversation with a client the other day, and I was saying that a lot of times we insist on something and it's not working anymore. But like, no, you're thinking, I'm going to try it like 200 times. And maybe in the 201 time, it's going to actually work. We're like that, right? So I'm sure
Yeah.
you have that as well. I'll do it, because it's worked for me before. So you have to realize also maybe what's worked for you before is not working for you now. So that's the art of letting go. It's just admitting to yourself, like, hey, it's not working. Maybe this is what's working. This is what I need to learn. This is how I can adapt and to change and to evolve. So it's all about growth, and growth lies at the edge of your comfort zone.
Of course. Yes, I
Yeah.
totally agree. Anda, we're almost at the end of our interview. And I would like to ask you, with all your experiences, both professional and personal, what do you consider the greatest lesson you've learned in life?
The greatest lesson is, well, two things I think that go together. One is to be kind to yourself and to give yourself self compassion, like I said earlier. And also to learn to sit with the hard truths. Because I think the more you avoid those hard truths or the difficulties, or there are things, I think all of us know that the things that we've been avoiding, or the things that we need to face and to sit with and to just process, the more you avoid that, that just gets bigger and bigger, like a big hairy monster. So you have to be able to just um, temporarily just sit with being uncomfortable. And the pandemic, actually, I've been helping a lot of leaders with this, but the pandemic brought that on to me also as well. All kinds of things happened in 2020. I don't know, not just the pandemic, but there's like a Pandora's box of all kinds of stuff. And, I had to practice what I was
What
helping
with your
leaders with.
coach?
Yeah, yeah. So it was being thrown at me left and right. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so hard. So, I had to just sit with some hard truths. But I learned that you just sit with it. And, the key, I think, in doing that is I learned to not super absorb it. If I absorb it, I get, you can get depressed, you can get overwhelmed and all that. But then I just learned to just, okay, just accept it. It's there. Maybe there are things that I can do things about it, and there are other things that I can't do and things about it. So I think the biggest thing also is to know that there are things that we can't control. So you put them in one column, and then another one is the things that we can control. So I choose to focus now on the things that I can control and the things that I can't control. Like I've had some really bad business relationships or other relationships also. If I can't control that, then why spend time trying to fix it or do something about it? Just leave it. If the person's like that, then the person's like that. But then if you let, like I said, the emotions get to you, or you become overwhelmed with trying to control it, it's not going to help you at all. Yeah.
That's right. I like that. Putting columns that or the things that you can control and the one that you can't control. And I think a lot of people normally focuses on the things that they can't control.
Yeah, you're kind of like you wanna, you wanna just find a solution for it. Like, no, I can control it, I can control. And that's what I mean by like you're doing things the same thing 200 times because you're hoping like you can control it in a certain way. But what if you can't? There's really no solution at this time. So never mind. Another thing is use resources. Maybe ask help from friends or ask help from a coach or ask help from or find other ways to do it. Because the reason why you're stuck and not able to think of a solution is like you're just focused on that. How can you see the other things? How can you see the other options that you have when it's just stuck on one thing? So
That's
to
right.
open your mind and to let go of that need to, I want this one solution for this one thing, and it's only that. And I'm hoping magically it's going to happen the way I want it to. So no. So it's again letting go and facing yourself with the truth of
Yes.
things.
And if I may add to that is I think you better see the bigger picture because just you mentioned you're focusing on this thing and you don't see the other things around it. So I think it's also helpful for us to see the bigger picture and not only that one particular part of our life or situation, but rather see it in a bigger perspective and bigger picture.
Yeah. It's about seeing the bigger picture all the time and zooming out. And sometimes we just get caught in all the details. And again, it's a question of where am I now? Who am I becoming? And what's really important for me? Not
Yes.
just now in the present, but maybe in the next 5 years. What am I working for? What am I optimizing for? And who's that person I want to be? And when you start from that, then, that's when you come up with an action plan. And that can be your guide. Because the problem is people go like this in, many different directions because there's no North Star, there's no guide, there's no clear direction of how you're supposed to be. And that's a different manual for different people. You can't
Yes.
copy that same guide for my guide for myself. It's not your guide also. And that's like sometimes a problem with some people just copying each other's story. But you have your own story, you have your own triggers, you have your own strengths. So you need to know what is your story, and so how do you create the story that you want for yourself,
That's right.
especially like in the next 5 years.
Yes. Anda, life is about decision. We always have choices. And I would like to ask what decision you made in the past that has an impact until now of who you are.
Hmm. Um, I think it's taking risks. Some were not good risks, but some were good calculated risks. So I think the move to be an executive coach has really changed my life. And I was a marketing strategist, I was in sales, I was in HR, very different from where I am now. But I realized that, everything's interconnected. Whatever experience you've had before, you bring it to where you are now, right?
Yeah,
So
it,
you
it
bring it to
prepares you to that.
embarrass you. Sometimes you can't see why did I do this, or it's a waste of time. But they're somehow all interconnected in some way. It brings you all together. But there are points where there are opportunities, and life is knocking on your door. And those are the times that you have to take the risk. You have, you feel it. You feel like this is the right time. And I feel like everything's coming together. But sometimes people miss the boat. So I'm not saying that because you miss a boat, it's never going to pick you up and happen to you anymore. But it takes a longer time. So what I feel like is notice the signs. Notice when it's time to go, when it's time to leave, when it's time to move. And so I think that when I left also was the right time. When I left corporate and I moved to executive coaching, I started my own business. It was the right time also, and it brought me to where I am today. So making that courageous decision of shifting to a completely different career, but it was calling at me. I felt that it really resonated with me. If it resonates with you, then go ahead with it.
Yes. But what was the deciding factor that really made you, yes, I'm going to leave the corporate world and I want to be an executive coach?
The description of executive coaching. So I did some research on it, and then I found out that executive coaching is something that I've been looking for all these years, and it's really given me that way to focus on developing people and focus on how to grow leaders in a very customized, individualized way. And so when I read about that, I said, oh, that's me. That's what I really love to do. And that's what I've been doing maybe even outside work all these years. So it's things like that, words that pop out to you, conversations maybe that you have. So I realized that I had to just listen to that, or I'm going to regret this for the rest of my life. So I don't like regrets at all. So I tried to picture what this is going to look like. I mean, it's a risk because maybe I might not like it, but it sounds okay. It sounds right. So at that point, when I started reading about it, and then I said, okay, I'm going to start taking courses in it. And I haven't looked back since. I've taken about maybe 15 different courses in it. And I've learned so much about coaching and deepening this practice.
And what will you tell Anda now? If you're going to have that conversation with yourself, that you made that decision, what will you tell Anda?
Tell Anda now or the Anda
Yes,
before?
Anda now. That
Yeah,
because
well,
you made that decision.
I'm gonna give myself a hug
Okay.
and a pat in the back and say that, yeah, good job on having the courage, because I'm very big on courage, and I think that's the same kind of value that I help a lot of leaders with, because to stand up for yourself, to be authentic, to be able to face, your the things that you don't want to face, and the hard truths about yourself is takes a lot of courage. So I think pat the back for having the courage to actually just drop corporate and go as a full-time coach and start my own business. So and yeah, just a pat on the back, congratulations self for really making that choice, that brave choice.
Congratulations as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure you are very successful with your work as an executive coach. My last question, Anda. If you or someone else is going to write your life as a book, what will be the title and what kind of book will it be?
Huh. It would be about that same word, courage.
Okay.
Yeah, because courage, because it's all about, again, being at the edge of your comfort zone, because at the edge of your comfort zone lies growth. So maybe I will write a book about that. Because it takes a lot of courage to just be there. And I think sometimes people don't acknowledge that also about themselves. So you asked me about what I tell myself right now. So it's even acknowledging the journey, where you are, what you've been through, your own story as well. And, having the courage to make better choices in the future also. So courage in connection with choice, courage in connection with hard truths, and being uncomfortable, and just being on the path of growing and learning all the time and being better. And being better is equivalent to going back to the beginning of our conversation. It's really about self mastery. So when you're better, when you know yourself really well, then you can manage the environment better that way.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
I can't help but really ask this question, Anda. As I
Okay,
listen
go
to
ahead.
you and all our conversation, what's next for Anda?
Ah,
What will be the next
well,
story for you?
the next story. Wow, that's a very good question. Think well, I've really been taking a lot of courses over the years. Like I said, I've been practicing this for many years now, coaching and team coaching. So I think it's about what value can I give? What other value, or other value or more value can I give to the people around me? So I think it's not just in organizations. It's not with not just with the leaders, not just with teams, but it's also the value that I give with like this, like knowing you, Arnie, or relationships with people. And just I think relationships now are very, very important.
That's right.
So thinking about myself, and what I can give to others even more. So in every single interaction, whether it's with a friend, an acquaintance, my son, my people I'm coaching, and to not make it robotic. So I think as I get older, it's about that's what meaning is about, creating life with more meaning and meaningful experiences with every interaction that I have with people.
Nice. All the best on that, Anda. And I hope in the near future, I'm going to see your book. The title will be Courage, right, Anda?
Courage. I'm actually thinking about
Yeah.
that.
I hope it will be in the bookstores out there on Amazon. And I'm sure I'm going to buy that book and learn from your experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anda, if people wants to reach you and wants to be your coachee, they want you to be their coach, how can they reach to you? How can they reach you? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I love to reach out to more people and coach more people because I said the value, the impact. You can reach me at www.coachanda.com. So that's my website. At the last tab, there's a part where you can look at the calendar and book a schedule with me. So if you want to know more about coaching, I do give complimentary coaching sessions, like a discovery call of 30 minutes. So you can find out what that is and how I can help you address the challenges that you have and the goals and dreams that you want to achieve. And you can also email me directly as well as at coachandagoseco at gmail.com. So that's coachandagoseco at gmail.com. And then if I post a lot on LinkedIn. So as Arnie said, there are a lot of awards that I received, and that's because of the insights I share on leadership and teams. So if you're very interested in that topic, you can look for me in LinkedIn, Anda Goseco. And then also, if you want to hear about, I also have my own podcast like you, Arnie. So
Yeah.
you can look for me on Spotify at with Leading Great Workplaces. So just search for that and you'll find it there, where I interview global thought leaders on how to create an environment in the workplace where people can thrive.
Nice. Leading Great Workplaces on Spotify.
Leading, yes, very easy to find. You just search for it and it's going to come out. I think I'm the only one with that title. So you can find it there. And then every episode, I interview different leaders and they share their strategies, what they've done, how they've helped their company. And maybe that's something that you can also pick up and use in your own organization or in your own team.
I see. And this is every month or every week, Anda, your podcast?
Um, yeah, it's a bi-monthly podcast. It happens twice a month. Yeah.
I see. There you go with my very special guest, Anda Goseco. Thank you so much. And if you like this particular episode, please share it with your families, your friends, so they can also learn from this episode, because in every episode, you will learn something for sure. Because remember, learning without action is information, but learning with action is transformation. Thank you so much again to my very special guest, Coach Anda, and to the listeners. Listen again to my next episode, and I hope you enjoy this one.